Intro. Uh, Comment on the video. Start the video.
This is Captain Kuro.
Oh, you guys do hear the video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
All right.
sadly so.
Well, you're not forced to stay here.
I know it's a joke.
Second smartest.
Well, oh, one thing I do like how if you hold the play button, you do accelerate the video. That's a nice implementation. Implement thing. that they
Implementation.
added. Implementation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Captain Kuro, the second smartest person in all of the East Blue, capable of conjuring 100 master plans in his mind brain faster than you can conjure a single thought of what you might want for dinner. But Captain Kuro has a big secret, one that surprisingly few people pick up on, and it's going to play a big part in this video because we are on a mission to rank every.
Of course. I mean, I presume he's talking about people don't pick up about how bad Kuro's plan is, because apparently he does not understand Kuro's plan, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't remember watching the video, but
I mean, it sounds like he's going the opposite direction. That he's saying Kuro is smarter than people think, not that he's stupid.
no, they picked up something from few people picked up on what Kuro did. Like,
Yeah, and I would assume that the way he's going with this is that Kuro is much smarter than people assume because people missed something that he did that was apparently really smart. This video sounds like he's gassing up Kuro, not the opposite.
it's sometimes hard to tell. Well, with Grand Line reviews,
We just have to see.
specifically.
Major antagonist in the most comprehensive and exhaustive way possible, video by video, this time featuring the controversial Captain Kuro. So this is going to be a good one, because Kuro is such a weird villain. He has a lot of great ideas with, questionable execution. So let's start with our standard criteria for a good...
Yeah. On the controversy part, I don't know what he's talking about. On my light browsing of One Piece conversations and such, I
Well-
never heard anyone get discouraged or annoyed by Kuro. No
Well, I would assume the controversy would have to do with the plan. That the plan, people think the plan is stupid.
But
Yes.
I never heard people talk about the plan being stupid. Though, like I said, it was
I mean,
light perusal.
Neither have I, but that's also because I refuse to engage with the One Piece community. So, like, you might have
I
just
think
missed
I
it.
remember them. I think I remember him complaining, like, why doesn't he just plunder immediately instead of waiting this long to do it? Which is stupid on its own.
Yeah.
good villain, which is Threat. Captain Kuro was the main antagonist of the Syrup Village arc, and when it comes to threat level, Kuro is, well, he's a bit of a tricky turnip because he comes at a weird time in One Piece. He's a very middling threat because he comes after our introduction to the world, but before the stakes get properly serious. And I think that his bounty...
What do you mean? That's not how you acute a threat. That's not, well, I guess, but primarily when people say threat, it means to the people in the world, not the world itself.
We only had Buggy before this, and the Navy Axe Hand Morgan.
Axe Hand. So yeah, but if it's going off that, if he just went off that, I can say sure he was I don't know why he said it like that. To be specific, like, you know what? Sure, he's not exactly wrong, but that's not what I think when I hear the word threats in this context. I mean, for a character.
is a great illustration of that. Captain Kuro isn't a big step up from Buggy. Buggy's bounty was 15 million berries, and when meeting Kuro, he's 16 million. So as an audience member, it's almost like, what's even the point? This guy can't be too much more...
Also, we didn't know their bounties. I don't think... No, they weren't shown, neither in the anime or the manga. Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. I'm always right.
Yeah, no, they don't show the bounties until Luffy gets his at the end of Arlong Park. At least I don't think.
Yeah, so we couldn't even estimate their, not estimate, compare their strengths based on their bounty, not until the end of East Blue, which is awkward to say because even if they do come one after the other, we still had no gauge for their strength or no use for the bounties because we didn't know them.
Trouble than the clown we already beat, and you're right, because he wasn't. However, Kuro's bounty is a matter of some controversy. It's generally accepted to be 16 million berries, but in the anime, that amount seems to change a lot. For example, in episode 45, we see Kuro's crossed off bounty, which lists 14 million berries, and in One Piece Stampede, for whatever reason, Kuro's bounty is featured in Buenafesta's bounty collage, but it has him listed as 15 million. And my only possible conclusion for these inconsistencies is that the anime staff simply did not care enough about Kuro to double check the canon number, because this hasn't happened.
It just increased.
Also, they showed
Well, to be
East Blue.
They showed what?
Didn't they show it at the end of East Blue? How many people?
Yeah, and he's saying that the number is inconsistent with when it was shown in Stampede.
And in the anime, on episode 30 something, he comments that they showed Kuro's bounty.
Yeah.
So,
And
why is he saying this
what?
when he could have just used the manga?
Because I don't know, maybe he thinks the anime might be canon.
I don't think he's that dumb.
And meme, as for what you said, why would it change? Kuro doesn't do anything.
Well, I don't know. It's just some thought you can think of.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things you can think of,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
But it could just be an animation mistake. Where they just forgot.
It's possible.
Another East Blue villain. Nobody ever messes up Arlong, Don Krieg, or even Alvida's number. Alvida. So this does not bode well for Kuro's ranking.
I mean, you
What
say,
is Elvida's number?
Yeah, why Alvida? It's not like she doesn't show up in the story again and again.
The fact that the anime and the movie production stuff can't even be bothered enough with him to get his facts right. However, what I personally like about Kuro is that he's a bit of a beta test for CP9. The idea of a competent agent with an ulterior motive spending literally years on an island to implement and...
agent in the sense that he's a person in a group of people, maybe.
I guess, yeah, but that's just a weird way to put it.
I would assume more along the lines of agent in the story.
Even though technically Kuro wants nothing to do with his crew, but yeah.
Execute a mission. He even kind of has access to one of the Rokushiki techniques, which he calls Nugiashi, meaning stealth foot. Although certain
also, very vague association. He was just a guy undercover. Don't know why he was trying to compare those two.
Because they were both undercover.
Yeah, because they're both undercover.
It's such a
bad guys.
It's such a thin comparison. Why would you even bring that up? It's whatever.
Translations decide to call it the pussyfoot maneuver, which makes Kuro sound like the villain of a Broadway musical. And it's never been confirmed, but this technique is shockingly similar to Soru. And I suspect that Captain Kuro may have accidentally learned a version of Soru. I also think that Kuro actually does a great job of appearing empathetic when he has his talk with Kaya, and he reminisces on how good her family has been to him. This sort of deception is fantastic.
Okay, that doesn't make sense because he's doing it in front of the victim. Just him acting. That's not him like by himself saying those things.
No, that's his point. No, wait a minute. He didn't say that. But
he's saying he can act. It's just weird.
I'm pretty sure he meant that good at faking it for the audience and Kaya.
No, I would assume he was just talking about Kaya.
And I suspect that Captain Kuro may have accidentally learned a version of Soru. I also think that Kuro actually does a great job of appearing empathetic when he has his talk with Kai.
Oh,
and he
appearing
reminisces on how
empathetic.
good
Okay, I misheard him.
her family has been to him. This sort of deception is fantastic, because seeing that for the first time did make me question if I was wrong about him. Maybe he is just a good dude after all, with some flaws. And I think it's important to give Kuro that credit, because he had me fooled for all of two.
Wait, what? Did he think Kuro was the secret antagonist? The way he said that, it sounds like he was getting... Like Kuro was gonna be the antagonist, the surprise antagonist. Whatever, it's fine.
2 pages, because shortly thereafter, Oda goes ahead and reveals that he is in fact the big villain man, and we were right to suspect him all along. And I do think that a modern Eiichiro Oda might have implemented this twist a lot better like he did with CP9. I mean, imagine if the first time we met Lucci as a carpenter at Galila, and then 3 pages later he's on...
better? Did he also think Lucci was the secret antagonist? I suppose that's fine, considering...
Well, how would you know that Lucci was an antagonist before, the reveal happens?
Yeah, that's what I mean. How was he...
Yeah, that's what he's also talking about.
No, I mean...
He's saying that it was done better in Water 7 because Lucci turning out to be an antagonist was done better as a surprise, because it didn't happen immediately afterwards.
As it was longer.
I suppose I just assumed that... Grand Line thought Lucci's going to be the antagonist out of the gates from his introduction. My bad. Is me presuming a bit much?
On Den and Mushi, revealing that he's the main antagonist of the entire saga. Wouldn't have hit quite as hard. So I'd love to see a version of Syrup Village where Kuro being the villain is revealed later on, and maybe we're led to suspect that Django is the main antagonist. But then again, that does kind of mess with Usopp's whole story of knowing and telling everyone but them not believing him, so I'm just going to leave that on the table for now, and we're going to discuss motivation, because Kuro has what I think is the most unique motivation of any East Blue villain. When you consider the likes of Alvida, Buggy, Don Krieg, and Arlong, they're all focused on the big picture of acquiring wealth, fame, and power to implement their evil agendas. And what I love about Kuro is that he's the exact opposite. He's doing everything he can to disappear and retire from piracy. What he seeks is essentially what Luffy wants. He wants freedom. And he's also quite similar to Mihawk. Kuro wants to live a peaceful life and is sick and tired of being hunted by the Marines. He even goes on to say, what good are riches if you've always got the Marines chasing you? And I think the quest for a quiet life is a very underutilized idea in One Piece. And with Kuro, it actually plays into his relationship with Usopp. Usopp and Kuro represent 2 opposing ideas in this arc, being pride and shame. Usopp, a man who has never gone out to sea, is proud to be the son of a pirate and holds that as the pinnacle of honor. And it's his goal to go on and become that brave warrior of the sea. Meanwhile, Kuro, a man who is an actual piracy veteran, is disgusted to so much as be associated with the word. He's ashamed of what he was, and he is willing to do absolutely anything to erase that part of his life. It's like having a pair of hands so dirty that no amount of washing will ever clean them. Kuro says, ouch damn spot, but then the damn spot says, lol, you mad bro? And Kuro is genuinely antagonistic towards Usopp, and the reason for that isn't because Kuro's a bad dude, it's because Usopp is the son of a pirate. Kuro has such a deep disgust of his previous profession, and he's projecting that onto Usopp, who holds...
No, what?
He knows
I don't think that's it.
He does know that Usopp has a pirate dad, but he never went out of his way to, murderize or antagonize Usopp because of it. At least not outside of the Klahadore identity.
Yeah, but that's his point, is that the reason he was so antagonistic towards Usopp, as the butler, was because he hated Usopp for being a son of a pirate.
No, that's... No, I think... No, I'm pretty sure it just means exclusively as Kuro's actual personality. I mean, it could be both. Like, Claudore's hate for pirates and Kuro's dislike of being a pirate imprinted on Usopp, but he just makes it sound like this is Kuro hating pirates so much that he hates Usopp because he has a pirate dad, rather than
Yeah,
Kuro.
that's his point.
But that's not the. Well, that's not really concrete because I really.
Well, yeah, the problem with that statement is that he can't prove that. That's what Kuro's motivation for being an antagonist to Usopp was, as opposed to just he didn't like him. But yeah, his point is in fact that he hates Usopp for being the son of a pirate. Like it's simple as that.
Holds that profession in the highest regard. And there's one very telling interaction where Kuro even states that Usopp has a gift for deceit and that he wouldn't put anything past him, that filthy pirate-loving man, which is classic projection, because Kuro is the one with the gift for deceit and plans on doing.
It's not projecting. He's just trying to protect Kaya. That's the idea. It's not like he brought that
He's
up.
saying
No, it's not like it.
he's saying that the subtext of Kuro saying, that dirty pirate lover that's just Kuro projecting his own hate of pirates into the conversation.
I don't think that has a lot of evidence, or he doesn't bring it up again. It's not like
Again, you're right. The problem is that that's fucking stupid because there's no proof of that. But that is his argument. Like, don't assume that's not his argument because it wouldn't make sense. It's just that his argument doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense as the fact that he doesn't bring it up again, nor does he antagonize Usopp further over that notion. Like with Usopp, not Usopp, like with Luffy, he keeps on mentioning his dislike of pirate life, so he could have commented on Usopp being naive as that. That's it.
Doing all of the really bad things. He calls Usopp trash, he calls his father filthy, he calls both of them animals, but it's all projection. Especially since Kuro's entire crew are themed on animals. So Kuro hates Usopp because Usopp is a reflection of what he hates being. Kuro even says that Kaya's estate is no place for someone like him, when what he means to say is that it's no place for someone like him, which I know is the same sentence, but the hims imply different people. Now, speaking of different people, Kuro is actually two people, and not a lot of readers pick up on that, which is a shame because to me this forms the
What the heck is he talking about? He better not be referring to Klahadore and something even dumber. No, I think people not picking up that Klahadore is a separate personality from Kuro would be dumber, rather than some mystery personality. I have no idea what he's talking about. So yeah.
Most compelling part of his persona. There's even one point where he says, Captain Kuro has outlived his usefulness, as if he literally wants to become another person, which he does with his butler persona Klahadore. And it makes you wonder if Kuro was even his original identity or just another alias that he took on and became at one stage. Because he does make efforts to completely transform himself right down to the basic use of language, which I will admit is a lot less apparent in English, but in Japanese there is a distinct difference between when Kuro is talking and when Klahadore is talking. It's like listening to two different people through simple choices, such as Kuro using the pronoun ore and Klahadore using watashi, which in English can both only be translated as I, but in Japanese, this simple choice tells you a lot about a person. And more evidently in English, you can tell the difference.
Or well, I don't know if he doesn't understand, but his time as Klahadore was actually painful for Kuro. So why would he actively choose a personality or a lifestyle that he dislikes similarly as to being a pirate?
Difference whenever Kuro or Klahadore talk about death. Kuro is very blunt and refers to it as killing, whereas Klahadore, the pacifist, would never use such wicked terminology. No, he says accident. And this is another very important detail that people miss. Kuro himself claims to have become a pacifist, or actually I should say
No, he's using accident as a way to specify how it should look like when Kaya dies. Because I'm presuming he's talking about when he's talking over to Django on how Kaya should be killed to make it look like an accident. But he didn't show a panel of him saying accident, so only a presumption.
that Klahadore claims this, which is odd because we see him very willingly harm people later on, but that's because this is Kuro acting, not Klahadore. And we know that he's not just acting, he's not just playing pretend, because he tells Django that he's become a pacifist. He tells Django alone. There was no reason to lie about that to Django. If anything, hearing that your captain has become a pacifist might even undermine your faith in him. So Kuro actually believes that he's capable of becoming a different person.
Well, first, what do you mean, Captain? He disbanded. Well, he wants out of the piracy gig. Yeah. Well, I guess, sure. There's still technically... No, Django was the de facto captain. They called him Captain Django. So what am I talking about? I guess everyone else still called him Captain Kuro, but he still said... Wait, why would he call himself Captain as Klahadore with the implication that he's still Kuro? But he denounced his captain pirate title in Kuro. Whatever.
But having said that, I don't think this is portrayed as clearly or as powerfully as it could have been. But look, arguably the most compelling aspect of this Captain Kuro is that he's a super genius whose plans are all catered right down to the most minor of details. Kuro is a different type of villain in many ways, but he's the first intellectual antagonist that we encounter. By which I mean it's not so much his strength that we fear, but his mind brain. He's introduced to us as Kuro of 100 Plans, a master strategist with an eye for excruciating detail. And Eiichiro Oda even once stated that Captain Kuro was one of the top 3 smartest people within the entire East Blue Saga.
I'm not sure about the... Okay, I forgot what he said.
Eye for excruciating detail. And Eiichiro...
Okay, I'm not sure about the eye for excruciating detail bits. He was just said to be an intelligent person by his nickname, or epitaph, when you want to call it. So I don't know where he's gleaming this type of information.
Why is Axe Hand there?
Oh, that's
Oda even once stated that Captain Kuro was one of the top 3 smartest people within the entire East Blue Saga, with the other 2 being Ben Beckman and Nami. And this is all very threatening because Luffy can't deal with that kind of opponent. He's built for rubber fist fights, not pirate chess, which in theory makes Kuro the most dangerous opponent to date, provided that he can make good on said intelligence. But that brings us to the problem of writing genius characters. If you choose to do this, then as an author, you need to work overtime to make sure that these characters are always several steps ahead of the audience. Not just the in-world characters. You need to have the audience believe that this 2D fictional character is smarter than them, the 3-dimensional humans. And it also leaves these
You just have to be smarter than Luffy, or the characters on page, not the actual audience. Why did he...
Weird thing to say, oh, they have to be smarter than you.
I can understand where he's coming from. Like in a mystery, or like in a mystery novel or something. It has to be a little level of intelligence. Although, then again, it's just simply be, well, not telling the entire story in a succinct manner. Point being, they don't have to be smarter than the people reading. They just have to be a level of intelligence smarter than the characters on page.
Of characters much more open to scrutiny. Because if Kuro of 100 Plans has a plan that he's been planning for 3 years, and then there's a problem with the plan, then that's going to shatter the illusion of genius. But this is what I think most people get wrong about Captain Kuro.
No, it wouldn't shatter his genius. It's just he wouldn't think of like someone like Luffy, a complete idiot that Strong would come by.
Yeah, that's also that. His plan would have worked. It's just that Luffy came in and disturbed the entire plan. He didn't really adapt to... Well, first off...
Basically down to luck.
Basically, it's only down to strength, because they're gonna have to push through Zoro, Luffy, and Nami to get to Syrup Village.
get wrong about Captain Kuro. He was never a genius. He was a big-brained fish in a
Alright,
very small-brained
guess.
pond. He is the sharpest of the dullest, the brightest of the dim, and all of the other metaphors. You get the idea. But Kuro has deluded himself into thinking that he's a genius. And it's really interesting because throughout Syrup Village, his intelligence is constantly being questioned by Django. Right from the get-go, Django tells Kuro that he wasn't sure about this whole plan thing, and then later on, when Kuro lets Usopp go after overhearing
That's because Kuro himself said his crew was stupid. Plus, it's not a bad thing to question your captain. Whatever.
he wasn't sure about this whole plan thing, and then later on, when Kuro lets Usopp go after overhearing the plan, Django throws this failure back in Kuro's face when it ends up becoming a big problem. But Kuro is completely unable to accept his own mistake and insists that he was correct all along and that this is somehow Django's fault. Kuro is the most frustrating kind of person.
Okay, now that's something. Kuro is deflecting to Django. Because, his ego and the whatnots. I wouldn't exactly call him being dumb. It's just him being an egomaniac. Okay, not egomaniac, but having a high ego. High ego. That came out weird. High ego. Oh, my throat. Sorry.
A man who cannot face his own mistakes and can somehow contort his way out of any personal responsibility. He never makes mistakes. The mistakes are made by everyone around him. That is Captain Kuro at every step during this arc. Even right at the end, when his plans are obviously falling apart, he insists that the plan was perfect. But his plan sucked. Not just when it fell apart, right from the inception. When speaking about his own plan, Kuro...
His plan failed because Luffy was there, and Zoro, of course.
Says, there's no room for error in my 3-year plan, and my plans never go off course. So no room for error except the following. 1. This plan relies entirely on Django and the Black Cat Pirates actually returning after 3 years when they could easily peace out and go do their own thing. 2. This plan relies on the Black Cat Pirates not being...
Why would they? They're still why would they go against their captain? Come on.
Yeah.
Man. Why?
And plus, they do fear him as well.
They made this. Well, I suppose he forgot that they fall under Kuro because he's their captain. But I suppose it's also fair to think that they would, do something else because 3 years is a bit of a long time.
They could easily peace out and go do their own thing. 2. This...
But also, why make that implicate? Why put that scenario out? Why put that scenario out there, like Django or the rest of the Black Cat Pirates were disobeyed Kuro, because they never shown any disloyalty to Kuro. It's just I really don't understand why he said that. It boggles my mind.
Plan relies on the Black Cat Pirates not being caught by the Marines for 3 years. 3. Instead of spending the 3 years gaining the trust of the villagers...
Oh, no, yeah, that is fair, but...
Yeah, that one's a bit fair.
By the Marines for 3 years. 3. Instead of spending the 3 years gaining the trust of the villagers, Kuro could have just had Django hypnotize them, because there's no need for acting when you can control people's minds. And
There it is. He doesn't want that. He just wants normal people, not hypnotized people.
He wants the normal life of being a rich guy in a mansion. Also, you're gonna have to go painstakingly door to door to everyone in town and hypnotize them, which is extremely unrealistic.
So by the 1 or 2 people that got hypnotized, I'm pretty sure the whole town would rally against you.
Well, that's if they knew who was doing the hypnotizing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, with the hypnotizing thing, he could always just go somewhere else after, hypnotizing who he needs to.
But still, the amount of people that he needed to that he would need to hypnotize and not get caught is so big. There's a good margin of error that someone could spot him, lay low for a
Well,
moment.
how many people did he need to hypnotize? He needs to hypnotize Kaya and Mary.
Well, he said to hypnotize the town.
Yeah, he said that, but Kuro doesn't actually need to do that.
Uh, I think they do because if he hypnotize, let's say he hypnotize Kuro, Kaya's family, not Kuro, Mary, Kaya's family, the butlers, maybe not even the butlers, just let's just go with those four: Kaya's parents, and Mary. The in between that, the other butlers would have to be, since it's more than just Mary, they would have to be disposed of.
Would they?
Yeah, they would have to be fired. If like,
Why?
well, they don't have to be fired. I'm just saying, if Kuro entered their life and they had to hypnotize those four, the other butlers, caretakers, would have to at some point get informed that something happened to them. Since
Well, how though? Because what's it? It's not that hard to get any one of them alone, especially since when we're seeing the events of you know the Syrup Village arc play out, it's not like we see any of the butlers just walking around. There aren't so many of them that it's like impossible to get any two or any one of like people they would actually need to hypnotize in a room.
well, that's fair enough. But then they still have to explain Django's position in the not Django's position. They have to do all that so they can remove those four characters so that Django can own the house and such because he wants the mansion and the money. So it disillusions. I mean,
Did you want the
disrupts.
mansion specifically, or just the money? Because I don't remember the mansion. I thought it was just the
Uh,
money.
yeah, let's
Because
just
if you
go.
wanted the mansion, then fair. But like, I don't think that was the case.
All right, I remember him saying the money specifically, but it would be fair to imply that he also wants the mansion. But I'll just stick with the money. For all four of them to agree to give away their money to Kuro would seem very odd because people would suspect something went wrong. Well, I presume people, the butlers and the townsfolk would question why the Kaya's family went dirt broke after
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that if you want the mansion as well, then yeah, then hypnotizing wouldn't work out. But if he just wants the money, so what? If people suspect things, he leaves.
but
He goes somewhere else.
wouldn't any law enforcement question Kuro over the abundance of money from the Kaya's family? Like that deposit?
Mm, would they? I don't know if there's an IRS in the One Piece community being like, "Hey, where'd you come into all this money?"
I would think so.
Then
Because
where are they?
not the
Because
IRS,
there are
not the IRS
because
specifically, but like
yeah, I know, but like there are specific kingdoms that have taxes. Like what's it? Wapple. I'm pretty sure he did taxes, right?
he didn't say that. No, he didn't. He didn't say about tax. He didn't say anything about taxes there.
I feel like I remember there was some island where the people were getting taxed, but
Uh,
regardless, not every island does that. So who would care?
I mean, by that notion, it's hard to keep track of currencies in like small towns. Then, since they do have money, so who would?
Yeah, and that's a question for One Piece's world building, not for Kuro's "I want money" plan.
But I say realistically, but world issue in One Piece in general. But still, that much money just for one person is highly suspect.
Unless the world government has an IRS system where they like check what people's income stream is, I don't think anyone would give a shit. And if a bunch of people went, "Hey, that guy's suspicious for having a lot of money," I don't think anyone would care.
Well, I'm certain the townsfolk would say something like the richest people in town just lost their mansion and gave all their money away to some guy. Sure, I
And then
guess.
what are they gonna do to prove that there's any like malicious intent? It's hey, a bunch of rich people gave this one guy a lot of money, now they're broke. And it's like, oh, damn, that sucks.
Uh, well, well, I guess if they do try to talk to Kaya and her family about the money, they could easily just be hypnotized to say they're being charitable to this one guy, or like he's a family friend, or like,
Or that.
yeah,
So my point still stands is that Kuro could have just left with the money. He hypnotizing is a valuable strategy, assuming of course he didn't want the mansion.
of course. I still say there could be people that notice Django hypnotizing at least those four, so it's still pretty risky.
Yeah, it's risky, but like you just have Django sneak in, or have the family take a walk and pass by Django. There are many such ways for Django to sneakily hypnotize them, as he does in One Piece.
Don't even need to attack the village or risk drawing any unwanted attention at all. Especially since 4. Kuro got stupidly, and I mean stupidly lucky, with Kaya's parents dying without his involvement. And then with Kaya herself going on to become a very sickly girl, again without his involvement. Kuro did not kill the parents, Kuro did not poison Kaya. I mean, he did poison Kaya in the live action, but not in the actual manga. Kuro didn't do anything, except for keeping a very well-kept house. So if he just infiltrated and gotten Kaya to pass away from something that looked like a natural condition, then no one would have raised any suspicion. 5.
That is the. Why did he say it like that? Like Kuro didn't plan to do that.
Because Kuro's plan was to kill Kaya, like to make it look like a physical accident, as opposed to just letting her die.
Well, I still question that distinction because it.
Because going out of your way to kill Kaya puts you at greater risk of being discovered, which is what happened, as opposed to just letting her die from being a sick girl and then, you know, collecting the check.
Well, Kaya would still need to write down the will, so it'd have to be a.
Which is what she was going to do anyway.
No,
That was the plan.
No, she didn't write the will yet, because Django had to hypnotize or persuade. Well, somebody had to persuade Kaya to actually write down the will.
That's what I'm saying. The plan was already to persuade Kaya to put Claudor in the will and then let her die, and then you get your money, as opposed to going out of your way to try and kill her and risk getting discovered.
But it had to be. Don't know how long the illness was gonna kill Kaya, for starters.
Yeah, that's the problem with this idea is that I don't think the reason he took the risk is because he didn't want to wait that long. But the point Grand Lion's making is that he could have waited that long if he really wanted to, if he was that smart.
Wow. Oh yeah. Sometimes when you refute what I say, it made it sound like that you're, well, in agreement with Grand Line Review, but
I just want you to properly interpret the bad argument he's making, because otherwise you're arguing against something he never said.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's good. That's good. I guess I don't really have any Well, apart from that, I don't have any objections with you trying to elaborate on Grand Line or my points. It's just that I thought you were trying to agree on Grand Line. I mean, defend Grand Line. But yeah, what I was trying to say, oh yeah. Have to wait for Kaya to die. Have her condition be so severe that she doesn't outright keel over in the middle of the night, have her actually write down the will, which I already said. I suppose that would be well, that'd be a bit more up to chance if he tried doing it in such a slow way. But
Well, no, the slower chance would or the slower way would be the better chance for him to actually get away with it. But he just wasn't going to wait that long.
I don't fully agree. But then again, we don't really have a diagnosis for Kaya, and she doesn't seem to actually be getting worse. So I don't know either the illness nor the
Yeah, that's just
severity.
probably the ambiguity.
Hence why I said she could keel over and die in the middle of the night. So, yeah, I suppose if you think at it long enough, there is holes, but potentially there could be no holes if it was like nothing too serious.
Why not get Kaya to write the will a bit earlier than the morning of her accidental death, perhaps even a year or two in advance, because nothing is less suspicious than a fresh will written hours before death. Furthermore, he didn't even need Django to...
True. I was gonna say it's because he wanted the full respect of the town, but yeah, it could just be like, a year earlier. Didn't really need to be on that notion at that moment, but true.
Who would tell that the will was just written then?
No, people would get suspected. People would suspect Kuro if it was written the same day as her death.
Yeah, memes asking how would they know if it was written that day.
Wouldn't the documentation be in circulation? Like day
Well,
of,
I would assume that the will is dated, that you would sign the date that you'd sign it, but
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe One Piece wills are different because that's assuming real world logic.
Yeah.
A fresh will written hours before death. Furthermore, he didn't even need Django to hypnotize Kaya into writing the will. He just needed to threaten her, which is ultimately what ends up happening. Kaya writes the will without Django's powers. 6, and this is a big
well, that wasn't.
Yeah, that one's that's
That's not exactly how it went down. Considering, also she's bedridden. She wouldn't be outside the mansion for that to happen. So people could have, saw Django and called the. Well, there's no police. Call somebody of authority.
yeah. If she was threatened and wrote the will, like that would be very very different than what happened in the actual series. Because if she was just threatened and he was like, "All right, thanks for the money, bye," then Kaya calls up the Navy and's like, "Yo, a guy just threatened me at claw point to give him all my money." Also, it's a will, so like she would have to die for that. And at that point, why are you threatening and then killing?
Yeah,
That just makes it even more suspicious.
I don't think he thought that went through.
Like, I'll kill you if you don't write this will that I only get after you die. It's like, oh, okay,
Hey, sick
yeah,
lady,
sure.
write down this exact name on that paper. Don't ask why. So yeah. Why did he say that? Like, that was a thing. Really, I always question this guy's competence because he says that, and I presume he's thinking that the exact scenario would happen, like the exact scenario of Django in the woods with Kaya, forcing her to write it down. Something, something, something. I mean, I know why she wrote it down, but like, he doesn't think beyond the actual setting of why she did. Not even why she did. He would have to forget why she actually wrote down the will.
When Usopp discovers the plan, Kuro lets him go, allowing Usopp to form the resistance that stops Django and the crew, which we've discussed. Then 7...
What the heck? He literally couldn't! That's literally why he left. He didn't read the story. This guy didn't read the story. He literally, the only people that could were were the Straw Hats, and if they weren't there, his plan would have succeeded, like, flawlessly. I mean, I still think he would have to kill Usopp someday, other than, Usopp, like, leaving. But either he leave or he dies. But point being, the reason why he let him live is because he was a non-issue. He was...
Also, he thought Luffy died too, because Luffy fell off the cliff.
That too, but... I don't... Alright, I guess he could call the Navy, but... What evidence would he have on Kuro that he did such things? But yeah, like I said, he was a non-issue. No one trusted Usopp. This guy did not read the story. Or at least thought up why number 7 would actually be impossible to implement.
Instead of simply accepting the anniversary gift, Kuro decides to out himself, kill in quotations Mary, and then at that point of compromise. There was no reason for him to do this. All he needed to do was keep up the act until dawn. But no, he initiated the plan the night before the plan was meant to commence, which is especially bad because somehow, number 8,
Well, what exactly? Well, apart from, Mary not actually dying, it wouldn't really matter since the pirates were going to, ransack the village in like less than 24 hours. But
Yeah.
If Mary actually did die, it really wouldn't have mattered.
Kuro fails to actually kill Mary, which then alerts Kaya to his betrayal, which is terribly out of character for someone who we are told is so detail-oriented. It's not out of character, it is his character. And if you don't believe me, then number 9, before the Black Cat pirates are able to sack the village, which remember was the plan, Kuro attempts to slaughter each and every one of them, thus preventing them from enacting the plan. Masterful gambit, sir. His perfect plan needed them to take the fall, so what you gonna do now? Stroll into the...
Of course, he intended to kill them after they completed their job, but...
Well, the problem is that why would he tell them that before they completed the job?
Yeah, that's the issue. So you should have said it like that. Why would he admit to kill them when the job is done? But
the village and kill a bunch of residents yourself? In which case, why bother spending 3 years to gain their trust? It was completely unnecessary. In the end, he starts killing his crew and abandoning his own plan whilst insisting that his plan is still the perfect plan. And in the end, I personally don't get a lot of satisfaction out of beating Kuro because we did not beat Kuro. Kuro beat Kuro. And apart from faking his own death, which was a genuinely cool, well thought out plan, I'll give him that. But apart from that, at no point does Kuro take the smartest and most carefully considered options. And he also leaves far too much up to chance, which is why the most generous...
apart from the Mary thing, literally an unpredictable, not unpredictable, a new factor in the equation interrupted his entire plan. It would have been flawless if Mary actually died and, Usopp, the Straw Hat Pirates didn't show up.
Analysis I can give this character is that Kuro was a man who thought he was smart, and that unearned belief in himself is what caused his undoing. But I need to admit, I don't know if that's just me trying to...
Also, what do you mean? He is smart, because how else would 100 plans. It was 1,000 plans in the anime, in the dub anyways. How would he get that epitaph if he didn't actually use his cranium nickname? Which he fails to realize.
To find an excuse for the character, because even if that is the intention, then I don't think Oda nailed it. I think that Captain Kuro as a whole comes across as a weakly written character, a genius stereotype that was used by an author who was perhaps a bit too young to really understand how a character like that needs to be implemented, and that choice harms him greatly. Kuro was set up to be this intellectual force to be reckoned with, which both raises the stakes but also significantly raises expectations. If Kuro wasn't introduced as
Well, he says too young. Oda was like 22, 23 when that arc showed up. I suppose you could say that is too young, but it's not
Yeah.
like he was
Also,
like
why did he do like a port? Like he showed Oda as like art, but he's been showing Oda as his fish character this whole time.
uh it's supposed to I guess well, it would have to just represent Oda as his as his
You could have just
well
made it a grown-up fish and then make it a young fish.
that too. He just had this in reserve to show Oda being old and Oda being young.
I just find that weird.
Yeah, I see that, but it was easier than just actually making a young Oda fish.
Who was perhaps a bit too young to really understand how a character like that needs to be implemented. And that choice harms him greatly. Kuro was set up to be this intellectual force to be reckoned with, which both raises the stakes but also significantly raises expectations. If Kuro wasn't introduced as a genius and instead he was just some guy of, middling intelligence who wanted to do some really bad things, then no one would scrutinize him anywhere near as harshly as he gets. Or if it was made super clear that his genius was a facade all along and then all of the mistakes they become believable. You could even thematically tie that to Usopp, because he's also a notorious liar with no substance to back.
Why would you need to fake being intelligent? How would you fake being smart? Well, I guess,
Buggy.
somebody... Well, for starters, he's not smart. No one said he was...
No, but he faked
I
it.
guess... Okay, in the scenario I'm thinking of, there was somebody on the Black Cat Pirates with the actual intelligence using their captain as the idea man. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Back up the stories he's telling, and maybe we could have done a parallel story with Kuro to show that he's a liar who claims to be a genius in the same way that Usopp claims to be a brave warrior of the sea. And then Usopp could have seen how hollow Kuro was and used that as part of his reason to set out to sea and make his lie a reality. But we can't really have that because Kuro can actually back himself up, as he does have the strength and intelligence required to get to this middling point of, not genius but smarter.
Okay, he doesn't have to be a complete dumbass. He could just be, he's got the long picture set out, but he couldn't realize the in-betweens. Oh, no. I mean, he has the beginning set up, but he couldn't figure out the ends. He could have been like, he didn't need to actually be dumb. He could have just, have one bright idea.
Than average and quite competent but also stupid at times guy man. So in the end, I don't really know what to do with Kuro, and neither did Oda, because he has no resolution. Luffy beat
like he doesn't need to be uniquely unintelligent.
Most villains don't have a resolution. Like Foxy doesn't have one. Like, why does Kuro need one?
Because they're both Usopp and Kuro liars. They've lied in the arc. That's why.
I don't really know what
NL doesn't even have NL doesn't have a conclusion. Like you could say him going to the moon is, but ultimately I don't know.
do with Kuro, and neither did Oda, because he has no resolution. Luffy beats him, we see his body fall onto the floor, and then nothing. Although anime watchers will know that in episode 45, we do see Kuro one last time, having resumed his role as a pirate.
Okay,
However, this
said
did not happen in the manga,
I
and
thought you said
anything
something
about
else.
Kuro after his defeat is completely unknown. He wasn't arrested because there were no marines there, and in the live action, he's seen sailing away in a rowboat because I think that even they recognize that Kuro needed some sort of resolution, or at least a hanging thread of potential. And now Kuro is one of the only villains in all of One Piece.
I know it's pedantic, but sailing away in a rowboat, come on.
For starters, he got picked up by the Black Cat pirates. They picked up Kuro, right? They mentioned that Kuro fell. They fell they fell. Kuro fell. They falled back onto their ship, and they sailed away.
Yeah, they carried Kuro with them, I'm pretty sure.
Heck, even
Been like a
also
while since we've read this.
I'm certain that's what happens because in the Django cover stories, Django was the only pirate not in the ship. Kuro would have been spotted when Django saw.
Where I remember like Luffy saying like get out of here and take your captain with you or something.
Yeah, but nevertheless, Django would have found Kuro on the shore that they fought. Unless, the Straw Hat Pirates dump Kuro into the sea or something. I really love the Django cover story. I just like Django. Everyone likes Django.
So has never appeared again. Which, good on him, because I guess that means he got his wish. Kuro was able to disappear from the story and not get caught up in cover stories and future events because he's completely off the radar. He could be off somewhere else implementing another 3, 4, maybe even 5-year plan that we have yet to see come to fruition because the entire story of One Piece so far hasn't even covered 3 years. It might be a case where, at the very end of One Piece, Oda shows us a single panel of Kuro having successfully achieved his retirement, but also it's entirely possible that we never see Kuro again, and I personally have no expectation to. Or I should say I had no expectation to, because Kuro does appear in a gag one-shot called My Plans Never Fail by Ryo Nakama. And this was a promotional 5-page manga to tie into One Piece Stampede, where it is revealed that Kuro has retired in a small house somewhere, and for some reason still wears his butler outfit, I guess fully taking on the persona of Klahadore. But in any case, he receives an invitation.
They always... Oh, okay. They don't always keep that design, but... I suppose they just didn't want to redesign Kuro's design and just kept it in the same attire.
To the Pirates Festival and decides to call his old buddy Django, who is now a Marine, and it ends with Kuro getting really angry and destroying all of his furniture. So this is a non-canon tie-in to a non-canon film, but despite that, I think this actually shows Kuro in his purest form, which is a deluded man who thinks he's an intellectual and belongs at the peak of humanity, but who is in reality a very small man who meets an equally small end.
What is this guy talking about?
It was a joke thing.
Well, for starters, he didn't say anything else about the manga for me to think that he was trying to go into the... I forget what it's called. The big pirate party to show off his intelligence. Second off, why would he do that? Because he doesn't want to be a pirate. Third off, I should really stop looking into this because he said something dumb and I should really stop talking about his dumb face value notions about some shit. And fourth off, I'm done with this sentence.
That's how I choose to view Kuro. Because if he is meant to be everything he says he is, then Oda simply failed. And Kuro becomes a very rare example of a character who falls short of the hype built up by the author. But either way, I think that Kuro was the kind of character that East Blue was not quite ready to tackle. The simplicity of early One Piece was not a good canvas for this sort of figure, and Oda has since gone on to implement hyper-intelligent antagonists very, very well. So perhaps Kuro stealth walked so that characters like Crocodile and Rob Blue...
Well, sure. I suppose as characters, nobody showed off plans. I guess plans. But in Barat, he showed off clever writing, is what I'm trying to say. He showed off pretty clever writing with Zoro and Sanji. So I suppose you could say he failed to write an intelligent character, but well, I suppose I should also say Grand Line Review does not understand Kuro well, so yeah.
Could stealth run. And whilst Kuro does have some genuinely interesting ideas, most of them aren't fully baked, and in the grand scheme of One Piece villains, I really don't think I can award him more than a D tier. But you let me know in the comments which villain you'd like to see ranked next.
This guy does not understand Kuro. No, he doesn't understand Kuro, and he's elaborating too much on his Klahador identity. So, we're gonna do another video?
I don't know. Thought we were going to watch Interstellar Rangers.
I would like to, but I kind of want, like, some more people.
A bigger
Yeah.
turn up.
Yeah, this is this B-list thing, so I thought more people could view the thing together. But I suppose I should.
We'll stick.
I suppose I shouldn't expect a lot of people to show up with their lives and previous arrangements, whatever the hell they mean by that.
That's
Yeah.
the Dragon Ball.
You got a video in mind? Oh, you
In
had
defense
a.
of Morph vs. Goku.
You had a. Well, I'll just put it in the chat. You wanted to do this video, right, Meme Spice?
Well, yeah, but right now I'm starting to feel really tired. That kind of took everything out of me. So I think I'm just going to head to bed.
I hear that.
Yeah, sorry.
At least we got to do
Fine.
one thing in this lifetime. In this
Yeah.
year. Alright, I guess that's it.
See ya.
See ya.
See you.
See you, man.